in a different generation than ourselves.
Some TikTok experts.
That's right, because we're talking about social media in education. So let me ask you girls first, before we get started here on Twitter.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Oh, good call, yes.
Okay, so my name is Ariel.
Okay.
And my name is Ashley.
And how old are you both?
I'm 8.5. I'm 7.5.
And can you tell everyone, what is your favorite social media platform?
TikTok.
Oh, I didn't have to
Insta.
give.
Insta.
Okay, so we have a TikTok fan and an Insta fan. So
TikTok rule.
can you tell me why that's your favorite social media platform?
Because I get to see a lot of people's pictures and stories.
Mm.
You're
Okay.
not 13 or older.
Okay, and then right, and then yes, but your parents manage your social media account, so it's okay. So what about Ashley? You said TikTok is your favorite social media platform. Why is that?
Because I can see my friends on TikTok.
Because you can see your friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ashley likes seeing the stories, or excuse me, Ariel likes seeing the stories and the pictures on Instagram, and you like talking to your friends or seeing your friends on TikTok. Okay, cool. All right, that's good. Adam, what about you? What's your favorite social media platform, and why?
It would probably be a, I don't know, probably I would say it's going to have to be a tie between Facebook and the Twitters.
Okay, and why?
I don't know, different reasons. I'm not sure I can really put my finger on one reason.
Okay.
But yeah.
So question, or the welcome question dropped. It's an interesting one. I wrote it, but I don't know how I'm going to answer it yet. If you were a social media platform, what would you be and why?
Interesting.
It's a good question, huh? I don't know that I have an answer yet. I got to really think about this one.
If I was going to be a social media platform, what would I be and why?
So to kind of think about the characteristics, I guess, of the social media platforms.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Don't call my ear, dude.
I mean, Facebook's. Oh, I know. Dylan, my son would say that I'd be MySpace because back in my day, it was a thing.
I'd say.
It's a tricky one. I'm wondering how other people will answer if they do, because I don't quite have an answer for this one. Ashley, would you be TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok.
Why would you be TikTok?
I can see my friends.
Let's see.
I don't know which one.
What do you think?
TikTok.
I'd be
TikTok. TikTok.
Friendster.
Friendster. Is that back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to tell everyone what we're drinking tonight. Local as always. I mean, relatively local.
Relatively local.
Always a California wine.
Chateau Le Cashflow.
By Tobin James. The largest wine club in the world.
Yes.
With an
This is probably the best $12 bottle of wine you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
It's $12. It tastes a lot more expensive.
It's very complex.
Yes.
Very complex. It's a red blend of... And this one we taste Ranchita Canyon grapes a little bit, not much. It's got Mediterranean varietals, Syrah, Primitivo, Barbera, and Malbec. So yeah, it's very complex. It's a good one. So I would recommend you try it if you have not already.
We smelled it.
And
it smelled cool.
It smelled good. Yeah, they get to smell, but they don't get to taste it. All right.
Yep.
So let's see. Adam just responded. As he said, if he were a social media platform, he'd be a combo of Facebook and Twitter because they both have strong points. Okay, it's not very
good.
Specific. Like, what are the strong points of them?
I mean,
Snapchat. No, Snapchat.
What about LinkedIn? I forgot to put a picture of LinkedIn on
right,
here.
I forgot LinkedIn.
What
Yeah.
do you about Snapchat? No,
There's a picture of Snapchat on the.
Wait,
Snapchat?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there is.
Yep. So
Aren't there be Messenger?
what's interesting as Messenger, do you mean Facebook Messenger? It's kind of like Facebook. Kind of like Facebook.
Yeah.
You know.
Slow to there.
So no one asks for people's digits anymore, do they, Adam?
No.
That's a back in our day thing?
That's a foreign concept to kids these days.
Right. Like, why would you have a number? You just would have a handle.
They had you on Snapchat.
Or Insta.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would recommend you guys stay until the end and see me and Ashley do something really good.
Oh
Really
yeah.
exciting.
Is it gonna be like something that would be cool enough to be like on TikTok or Insta?
Kinda.
Yeah.
But not Insta.
Oh, okay.
One of those apps you just said we're actually going to do a dance on that app.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, question 1 just dropped.
All right.
It says, what role does social media play in your life personally and professionally, and what are some of the pros and cons? So, actually, I think I'm going to ask our special guest today.
Good and bad things.
Yeah. So, let's start with Ariel. So, Ariel, what do you use social media for?
Online characters, information.
You get information from social media? Like what kind of like the news or like information about like games you like to play or what?
News stuff that I never knew.
Oh, so you like use social media to learn stuff? Okay, okay. And like, what do you think is good about social media?
That you can probably follow or like see your friends.
Okay, so it's good like for socializing. And then, is there anything you think is not good about social media?
Don't tell your age. Sometimes if and your name. Sometimes someone could ask something that you actually want. It could be your friend that's asking. But you never know who it is. It can be a hacker. It can be
Scammer.
They can be catfishing you.
What is catfishing?
Oh, so that's a good point. Okay, so catfishing. So there might be some adults out there that don't know what that is. So Ashley, can you explain what catfishing is?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay, Ariel, can you tell us?
Catfishing is trying to get someone into something else than they're already into. Like for example, so your friend wants you to catfish your other friend. So she gets all changed, all dressed up, and then she makes a fake profile.
A fake
account.
profile. I see. So that's dangerous because it's not like your real one.
Yeah.
I see. So you got to be careful about that. Very good point. Okay, so Ashley, I'm going to move on to you. So Ashley, how do you use social media? We heard from Ariel. Now we want to hear from you.
I scroll on TikTok and do TikTok.
So what do you do on TikTok?
Do TikTok.
So like, do you would say you look at them, you create them, both?
Their sounds or something. Like what
Okay.
kind of scroll? Like a paper scroll or like a finger scroll?
So Ashley, what makes social media good? What do you think is good about social media?
Like that you can meet up with friends or something.
You can meet up with friends? Okay, but you heard what Ariel said about catfishing, right? Gotta be careful, they're actually real friends. So what is something that you think is bad about social media, Ashley?
That someone could like scam you and like catfish, like Ariel said.
Like, what do you mean by scamming? Because Ariel's talking about catfishing, but can you tell us what you mean by someone scamming you?
Like I think I know what you mean. Like someone trying to bribe you. Like so there's a lot of these TikToks that say
So when I do something on Roblox, I pay for something with the money I have on Roblox on this game, and they just leave the game, so it's just extra money. Those are scammers.
yeah, actually that happened to me once.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get like a unicorn. It was $1,000, not $2,000. So I paid the $1,000. They just scammed me. So
Of course.
So now you know that you learned
If
your
you have
lesson.
a ton of money, that's what they would do every time.
Yep.
because a lot of people there have like a lot of money.
Yep. She just joined.
And 10,000 people.
Yep.
We have Glenn. I think that's how you.
Yep. Glenn Robinson.
Glenn Robinson,
Jamie, John, and Tisha.
Tammy Wolfie.
So we are going to have question 2 dropping in a bit. But I am so excited that we had our younger than us guests today to tell us all about the pros and cons of social media. That was very helpful. Thanks, guys. So if you had a friend who you needed to teach about social media, what would be the things you would tell them to stay safe online?
I'll tell them to never go for someone that is like telling you what to do and you think it's not really smart. And actually, there's like these TikToks that so for example, your house, if you scroll, like, follow, share, and comment, it doesn't even happen. I do it, but I know it won't even happen. I just like to support them and do it. I never do share because I have no idea who to send it to. Your follow people.
All right. Bailey, I see you. The dog thought I wasn't looking at her.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
We see you, Tupac, and you cat fast.
All right, so,
No.
oh no, I have too many characters on my tweet here. Question 2 just dropped.
That's a lot of characters.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
To take out 16. I know how to. So question 2 says, what are the impacts, both positive and or negatives, of social media in the lives of your students? So we talked first with our first question about social media in your own life as an educator, personally and professionally, and now we're talking about the impacts, positive, negative, whatever you'd like to share about social media for your students. Adam, do you have anything you wanted to share out?
Let me respond to this tweet here from Dr. Christopher Davis, who is responding to one of our welcome tweets, saying that next week his students are going to be debating the intersection between technology and schools and whether free speech rights are infringed upon when schools police online messaging by students.
Ooh, that's an amazing topic. That sounds pretty good.
So I'm going to give that a little retweet here. So,
Okay.
All right, there we go. Adam said on here on Twitter that a con with social media is that this is true. The political posts, the ones that are annoying and not helpful.
I don't think there's anything that are helpful because the bias is so horrible. I mean, everyone's equally wrong here. Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives. It's so biased. Like, there's no truth. I mean, I was having this conversation with my very politically charged mom, who's on very staunchly on one side of the political aisle, and I tried to tell her, listen, this is the only way I can see solving our horrible political issues right now is everyone in government resigns and reruns for office, and they're not allowed, and there's no political parties. You're not allowed to claim to be a Democrat, Republican, a conservative, or a liberal. You're just an American, and let your policies and your ideas shine through. None of this partisan platforms. It drives me nuts. And when I'm on Facebook now, I have flooded my feed with cute animal posts because I want to see that because that's entertaining and it makes you feel good. And I see people posting about politics, and if I dare to even click on the comments and see how horrible people are to each other,
I scroll.
Yeah, it's like it makes Jerry Springer look like Sesame Street. It's terrible. That's one of the real negatives right now for me with social media. Is politics. People are just so horrible to each other, and I have my theories on how we solve it, but I mean, not feasible.
I think I used to not like the Facebook algorithm change when way back in the day it was all of the most recent posts were at the top, and there was no algorithm of what they thought you would most like or what other people liked and all this. And I was upset at first when they changed that, but now I'm glad because Facebook notices that I scroll past those through those political posts really quickly, and I don't like them or anything, and so they will curate it based on things that I'm more interested in. So that's pretty good stuff.
Here we have Sarah, who called it on Twitter, called herself the wordsmith.
That's Sarah Smith.
Is it Sarah Smith?
Yes.
All right. She says that there's negatives. That definitely the amount of distractions. Positive is history TikTok.
History TikTok.
Yeah, I've heard about this. This is pretty cool.
What is
They're
that?
amazing. I want to start the whole thing with 8 seconds of summaries of books because students are summarizing important historical events on TikTok. So
That is cool. That is cool.
That's going to get a retweet there.
So
Yeah.
I was talking to a principal at a middle school because TikTok is really popular at the middle school level. And
not middle school
in
yet.
this house.
Yeah, this out.
But the principal said that she has noticed that TikTok has helped some of her kids really express themselves
Yeah.
and come out of their shell, and she really liked that. So that part is good, but she also indicated that she felt they needed to have more digital citizenship training because there's certainly the risk of cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And so she felt that kids needed to learn more about being kind and supportive and respectful online. So
We
those
have,
are my...
Dominique from Visalia Unified says that positives for students would be the ability to share thinking ideas, connect with different cultures, and learn a variety of concepts. Negatives would be they can create jealousy, a sense of loneliness, and poor social skills IRL.
Nice.
That's it.
What is IRL?
In real life. So if you spend too much time messaging people online, you don't really know how to talk to people
Yes.
face to face.
Yes.
It's actually definitely an issue. So I didn't answer this question yet. Let's see.
Have to look through.
I would have to
I know.
agree with everyone so far who's chimed in on the Twitters. Let's see.
All right. Okay. I love what Dr. Chris Davis said about the debate his students are going to have.
Yes.
Whether free speech rights are infringed when schools police online messaging. That's a really interesting question. And I think the way it is in California, gosh, the laws are always changing. I thought the way it was in California, at least a few years ago, was that even if something happened on social media outside of the school time and not using a school device and all those things,
Whoa.
if it negatively affected the impact, the culture of the school, then technically the school could get involved. There was some verbiage in the law that allowed for that. But this was this was like 5 or 6 years ago when I remember learning about that. So I'm not sure what the way it is now. Because I remember thinking before I'd learned about that, I was wondering why schools were cracking down on things and were being held responsible for things that occurred outside of.
Yeah.
Like how's that their jurisdiction?
We had some issues years ago where kids were creating fake Instagram accounts for teachers that they didn't like.
Oh, that affects the school.
But we found out they were doing it on the school Wi-Fi.
Oh, well, you got them.
So
yeah, for
that
sure.
right there, again, I'm sorry, your freedom of speech doesn't protect you with that.
Mm-hmm.
Do it at home. I'm totally. I talk to those kids. I go, listen,
Yeah.
you do this at home. The school has nothing to. The Constitution protects you, but here you did it on school Wi-Fi. Your rights have changed.
So I believe the Constitution protects you as well. However, I have seen schools, and there was some fine line in the law that allowed for this. Some verbiage I remember learning about, but anyway, it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Because even if the school's not mentioned, if there's students that are cyberbullying each other outside of the school, not on school Wi-Fi, on their own devices, there's schools that monitor those accounts.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they shouldn't, but I do think it's an interesting conversation as to the free speech issue. However, these are minors as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of complications with all of this, certainly. And I'm not up to date on all of the laws like I used to be, a little bit more than I am now, but it's certainly things to think about. So we have Oh gosh, question 3 already dropped. But before we go back to that, let me talk about some answers we
got,
have.
Yeah, we got Josh Harris is on tonight on Facebook. Good to see Josh.
That's right.
Be hanging out very soon, I'm sure, in Palm Springs.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, the homie Josh Harris.
I'd love to hear Josh Harris's take on
Oh,
cyberbullying that occurs outside of the school time and not using any of their devices, no school Wi-Fi, all that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what Josh thinks about that. We got Pete Munoz on as well. Here in Delray, Principal Delray. So love to hear what any insight that you have as well. Feel free to comment anyone on Facebook. But I will say that answer 2. So we were talking about impacts of positives and negatives of social media in the lives of students. So Adam here talked about. Again, similar to what I said about TikTok with middle schoolers, is that kids are able to express themselves in a way that they weren't able to in previous generations. And it's created a whole industry of jobs. That's true. Very true.
You never would have imagined. You can make good money being a social media manager.
You really can.
For a company. I mean, that's a real job that you could aspire to be.
These are true too, though. Negatives include bullying, lack of physical activity, and interaction. So this is interesting. I read some survey that had been done, data that was, I don't know what you know how I think about data, but anyway, there was some research done by ARP. And so it was talking about Americans that are 45 years old or older, which that doesn't seem that old to me. I don't know why that's considered ARP, but anyway. And so what they said was loneliness is a new epidemic for older Americans, but really for all Americans. I've read that about all sorts of age groups. But what's interesting was they said that technology with these older Americans can actually help them be less lonely because they can connect with family, virtually, friends, etc. But that there needed to be, of course, personal connection in real life as well. But I did think that was interesting that they were saying that technology could help support and fuel some connection and combat loneliness, because normally we only hear the opposite.
Yeah.
And so they kind of acknowledged both sides.
Yeah, I mean, like George Crow says, he says, you know what? I think it's George that said that, the social media makes kids more social.
Yeah.
It's not traditional, but it's
right.
You're interacting with people you could never interact with before. I mean, I'm thinking of all the people that I've known throughout the years that I haven't talked to physically in 20, 30 years that I interact with all the time.
Yeah.
And they know everything about my life and based on what I share. And it's all done virtually. I mean, it's social interaction. It's not in real life, but there's pros and cons to the whole thing. It's a game changer. I mean, I have my family on the East Coast that I never get to see, but they know what's going on over here. I know what's going on with them, and it's interesting because in my previous marriage, we went to a family reunion in Texas, and it was like I think it was the 50th wedding anniversary that we were there for. But you think you guys would be a big party, but there was like a party 4 days in a row leading up to it, and then 3-4 days afterwards. And they're telling me like how. I mean, again, this is an older generation of people, and they're like, oh yeah, we never get to see each other, so we need to take advantage. I'm like, yeah, but us younger people here, we connect with each other all the time. It's like, I mean, yeah, we're glad to see him and stuff. And, a couple of days here, those parties get together. But it was exhausting. I mean, here I am. I guess that there's the truth in the matter of the old school. They'll party like an old school party because the old school party don't stop. I mean, I was living that because they just would not stop partying. They had to see each other for like 7 days in a row, nonstop, because who knows if they're ever going to see each other again. I mean, and I get that, but those were the people in the family who weren't online, who weren't connected with each other all the time, and stayed up to date. So it was an interesting dichotomy there.
Yeah,
between
for sure.
The generations. I think going forward, more and more people of that age are actually online now. Like my mom knows all.
Yeah.
She's of that generation, and she's straight up. She's up
we
to
have
all
a
that
funny
stuff.
picture about that. We have a funny picture of our mom.
Yes.
Both of them are staring at their phones.
Yep.
And so we took a picture and made a meme, of course, that said, this generation and their phones.
That was hilarious.
It was great because they're,
actually, they were sitting in the exact seats where we're sitting right now.
They were, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So, hey, Becky's here.
Becky?
Becky had a question I was unable to help with.
Oh, man.
I think it's a specific Google form. Forms could really improve.
Yes.
They have improved, but I feel like that's one of the weaker apps.
Well, I think that they need more of the add-ons are kind of,
add-ons
they're
are-
glitchy.
yeah.
They're very glitchy.
I don't even use
Here's
them
some-
anymore.
yeah,
I have so many issues with add-ons with forms.
Yeah. But,
So anyway, yeah.
and there was a question 4 just dropped, and it says, how have you seen social media utilized to increase communication between home, the community, and schools? What's been problematic, and what's proved successful?
Ooh.
So again, how have you seen social media utilized to increase communication between home, the community, and schools? What's been problematic, and what has proved successful?
I think that the best way that I've seen, for older kids, the best way I've seen social media in schools be used for communication is when there is a team of kids that is in charge of the social media account.
Yeah.
And that happens at both middle school and high school levels. That's pretty exciting because the kids like own the work. And so I like that. Seesaw has a great way, Seesaw, Remind, these are great ways to connect, especially, Seesaw for younger kids many times. Remind, can I just say something about Remind right now?
Go for it.
So my son's school uses Remind, and the district uses Remind, which I love. I love that I get texts, not email. I get an email as well with communication about the school. I love that. The thing I do not like is that there's no title. Sometimes once in a great while there's a subject on the Remind message, but most of the time it just says here's a new message essentially. It doesn't say anything. Just there's a new message from, and then you have to click on the PDF and open it to actually see what it is. And many times it's something that doesn't apply to my son. So it'll be about sports. Well, he's not in sports. It'll be about senior night. Well, he's not a senior. So I would say that even though, and that's interesting because that's from a parent perspective. And normally I think of it from an educator, administrator perspective. But you gotta think and ask the parents what they think of your, remember you had the issue with Class Dojo last year? It was all glitchy and wasn't working. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think sometimes we get really excited as educators, and I did the same, about these great apps, but we really have to take the time to talk to parents and see if there are any things that are not working so well, so we can try to work those out too, because we don't want it to become a frustration. So anyway. Flipgrid just said I rock.
Nice.
There was a Flipgrid chat last night that I was on,
that's
and I
right.
was on an EduCoach chat
Yeah,
before this.
Yeah, you were going
I had
you were
5.
Lamar Treadwell status last night.
I had 5
5,
chats
you
I
broke Lamar's
participated
record.
in at once. One was real slow. Anyway, so Sarah Smith just talked about Flipgrid as well. And she uses it a lot for classes talking to each other, which is awesome. Interesting. She has a colleague that uses it as an auditory essay brainstorm. That's cool. And then
We have Amy Steiner from Texas talking about using social media to in the classroom, and she talks about she uses hashtags. So she commented on my hashtag learning post, and she says I use hashtag teach me something in 5 words to have kids chunk their learning for the day or the unit.
Nice.
It's fun. It's pop culture, retrieval practice exercise that she can bookmark and use from year to year. So I think that was pretty cool. Pretty much summarize something in 5 words. It's almost like a Vine, but in words.
yes.
You know? That's a pretty cool idea.
So on Flipgrid, something that I just hadn't really thought of, is starting to have kids, because you can put text on top of the images and of the videos. So what I started doing just this week was, add a hashtag to what you're talking about. So whatever it is that you're talking about with your content, you need to add text on top that's a hashtag, like a filter essentially on top of your video. So that was kind of cool. And do you do that with book snaps? Do you have them add hashtags?
Not with that. I do hashtags more like
You do it separate.
as a reflection
Yeah.
on their sketchnoting.
Yeah.
Say what does this remind me of? Like today,
Right.
we we talked about, let's see here, I said this so they were reading about the beginning of the Cold War, and how the relationship between the United States and Soviet Union began to break down. So I explained to them, I modeled it first. Like, all right, so for this one, I tell them, I go hashtag my divorce. So so I'm getting personal with them. I'm telling them this is kind of reminds me of what I went through when I got divorced, and they're sitting there like they were interested in it, and hearing some of my personal details there that I was willing to share. And so I was modeling for them how that breakdown of the relationship between Soviet Union and Soviet Union U.S. was very much like my divorce. So I go, this is the kind of reflection you need to do. What does this remind you of from your life? So I told them when you turn in your sketch notes, there needs to be a hashtag written at the bottom with an explanation. So a couple kids wrote about their little brothers, about how after how they what they learned about in the Cold War reminds them how they dealt with their little brother. I mean they were that there's a breakdown of a relationship after a big event, and I'm not gonna put that kid on blast, but they were doing it. So.
But they're making a connection, and that's
Yes.
what helps them to cement their learning, which is awesome. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, this is an important topic, I think, social media in education, and it's something that we will continue to explore as more platforms come out and more both positive and negative aspects just organically kind of emerge.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely. Did you know 3731?
Damn. Rolled right through.
Yeah, it was a good one. Thank you everyone for joining us. Again, if you missed it, we had, if you want to go back and watch, Ashley and Ariel were our generation below us that were representing TikTok and Instagram, and we're talking all about social media from their perspective, which was pretty fascinating. And then also, if you missed the wine we're drinking tonight from Paso Robles, always a California wine. Try to be pretty local with our choices here for showcasing to you. Tobin James, the largest wine club in the world. Chateau Le Cashflow, which is made of
Malbec, Barbera, Primitivo, and Syrah.
Yes, but in the opposite order of the way
Yes.
you said it. Cool. All right, well, have a great one, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on social media as we discussed social media in education.